On this episode of the Turnbuckle, Matt Riddle enters rehab after his second failed drug test. Shawn Michaels talks about the inspiration for his NXT Iron Survivor matches. And is Bobby Lashley fired? Folks, we're going to hit your favorite wrestling move into some wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. Cassidy Hayes of Bodyslam.net reported Monday that Riddle was written off last week's Raw due to failing his second drug test since earlier this summer, when a proposed match against Seth Rollins for SummerSlam was moved to WWE Clash of the Castle after Riddle failed the first test. At the time of the first drug test failure, the reports said that Riddle was told that a second test would result in a rehab or fired situation similar to the one Jeff Hardy was given prior to his WWE departure last year. The belief going around is that he has already entered treatment or he will be going soon, as most programs run for 30 days and he would need to be finished in time for his return in 6 weeks, Haynes wrote. What came up in the failed test isn't currently known. Riddle was off television last week after Solo Sikoa attacked him following a match on Raw. Riddle was stretchered out after Sikoa gave him the Samoan spike, then landed a running hip toss into the corner with Riddle's neck wrapped in a steel chair. WWE later announced that Riddle would be out of action 6 weeks due to the attack. Okay, so first thing that we need to talk about is that apparently WWE isn't testing for marijuana anymore. So we can pretty much write that off, right? So it kind of begs the question of, if it's not marijuana, then what is it? You know, like, I don't know. This feels really like shady to, oh, I bet it was this. Like, I don't know. It could be anything, you know, like, so that's what it was. I assumed it was an injury. I didn't know it was a wellness policy thing. So that's pretty much where he's going right now. He's kind of got to deal with that for a little bit, and then he's going to be on his way back. I'm not going to lie. I am a little bit worried, just because if it's not marijuana, I am worried. I'm going to be honest with you. I am a bit worried that it is a harder drug. You know what I'm saying? I'm a bit worried that it's something that's a little bit more harder to like shake off. You know what I mean? So I'm sure like 3 weeks in, he was like, this is dumb and I should have never done it. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, whatever, you know. I'm going to do the thing that Andy did when he had to go to the anger management class. He was just going to shake hands and ask and repeat the question or whatever, and just do his thing. And then before he knows it, he's back, and the hole in the wall that he put before he left is completely, you know, plastered over, and everybody forgot all about it, okay? And then he's going to be the CEO for like a couple weeks, and then everything's going to be fine, all right? So until then, I personally don't think we have too much to worry about, and I think Matt Riddle should be perfectly fine. Next, we're going to be talking about Shawn Michaels on how WWE creative plans played into the new match creation. Following the debut of the new stipulation at NXT Deadline on Saturday, Michaels admitted that the loss of the War Games forced NXT to, quote, get a little creative and think of something when they were presented with the chance to host a premium live event in December. We wanted to see if we could think of a different concept and something that would be interesting enough for that people wanted to tune into, Michaels confirmed at the post-show media press conference. Michaels reiterated the need for NXT to craft a compelling match to be included at their Deadline event, saying that War Games was, quote, a tough act to follow, so they created something a little more technical. In addition, following the brand's Halloween Havoc event on October 22nd, officials weren't keen on their NXT event being really stipulation-based. As a result, a men's and women's Iron Survivor Challenge match took place at Deadline, but the entire card and event name wasn't themed around it. So that kind of like shuts up what I was talking about earlier. Not earlier. I think it was in my predictions video when I was like, I think what they've done is they've made a stipulation and they basically just made the entire pay-per-view around it. So that pretty much debunks what I was talking about. I do like this. I like that because I don't see how the War Games, probably because the War Games thing is now happening on Survivor Series. Okay, because it's happening on Survivor Series now, so it's not happening on it. Okay, I understand. I get you now. All right. So I do like that. I like that, you know, that kind of took place and it kind of forced NXT as a whole to really be like, all right, well, what if we think of something else? I really like that they tried something new and it actually worked. It started out as a little, you know, like the championship scramble. It was kind of like that where it was like, well, what? But then like as it started happening, it was like, oh wow, this is actually like really good, you know? I really want this to start being like how do I put this? I want this to be a stipulation that they keep going back to. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is going to specifically be like an NXT Deadline. You know, like with No Way Out and Elimination Chamber, like is NXT Deadline, is that going to start being an Iron Survivor type deal? Is it going to be like Hell in a Cell where like it will occasionally pop up every now and again? You know what I'm saying? Is it a pay-per-view specific stipulation or is it just like a a stipulation that will occasionally make an appearance here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to see it at Vengeance Day? Probably not. But you know what I mean? Like, is that going to be a thing that like pops up every now and again? It's really hard to say. I don't know what's going to happen with it. But listen, we're going to have to wait and see if it pops up again, so only time will tell. Finally, we're going to be talking about Bobby Lashley and how he got fired after assaulting Adam Pearce on WWE Raw. Lashley was fired in storyline after shoving a referee as well as official Adam Pearce, who told off Lashley after specifically telling him not to attack officials last week. After Lashley shoved Pearce in response, Pearce angrily told Lashley he was fired. Seth Rollins and Lashley met in the main event of Monday's Raw in a match to determine the #1 contender for Austin Theory's WWE United States title. The finish had Lashley hitting a spear on Rollins, but the referee was unable to make it to the ring quickly after tweaking his knee. Lashley then went for another spear, but Rollins countered and won with a pedigree. Lashley confronted the referee after the match and shoved down a second referee who tried to intervene. Pearce then came out to confront Lashley. They were in the ring, they were doing the thing, a little ref bump happened, they backed into the corner, ref fell out, he was like, So Lashley's like, what the heck, man, what are you doing? You gotta be kidding me. I like how another referee came out and was like, Lashley, can you relax? And then so the ref was like, hey man, can you stop? And then Lashley was like, what is there's a fly on me? And then he fell over. It didn't look like Lashley meant to do it. This is turning into the Goldberg's son situation where Lashley was just sort of he didn't know what was going on and he wasn't his intention was not to hurt, right? And then Adam Pearce came out and Adam Pearce was like, what are you doing? And then Lashley was like, I like that. So Lashley came out, right? And Pearce was like, you gotta be kidding me. What's going on with you? And Lashley was like, Lashley was like, whatever, he walked off and everything. And then as he was walking out, he was like, if you don't get out of my face. And then they bleeped out what Adam Pearce said, because I guess he swore, but whatever. So he swore and he was like, you're fired. And then literally 15 people heard it and they were like, whoa, and that was it. Now, my main gripe is the fact that he didn't do it on a microphone, so not everybody else knew. You know what I mean? I guess if you're watching it on the Titantron and he's going like that, I guess, sure, I guess you can convey that, but if I'm up in the nosebleeds, I'm like, what, huh? What happened? I don't necessarily know what this means. I don't want to just ultimately assume that he's immediately going back with Hurt Business. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? None of us can really sit here and be like, this is exactly what's going to happen, but that's what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? But again, only time will tell, really, So hopefully that's what it's going to be, because that sounds more promising than Lashley just sort of coming back with a new gimmick. You know what I'm saying? I mean, until we actually see the Hurt Business Titantron show up, right? Then there's not really much we can say. What do we talk about? So Matt Riddle entered rehab, right? After his second failed drug test. So I don't know what it could be. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, it could be this or it could be that. They're not testing for marijuana, so we can sort of rule that out, which kind of makes me worry that it's a harder drug, and I don't want that to be the case. I don't want this to start being some sort of sad story where, it goes from bad to worse. You know what I'm saying? Shawn Michaels talked about the Iron Survivor Challenge and how the takeaway of the War Games match inspired that, which I really like. And I like that the Iron Survivor match actually did well. I don't really like seeing new stipulations that everybody's like, huh? And that means all right, fine, we're not going to do it anymore, And Lashley's fired, sorry. There's a still image of Pearce running over to Lashley. God, that was great, man. Well, okay, it's on Twitter. It's on WWE's official Twitter. So I assume if you're a casual fan, you've got a Twitter, and you're following WWE on Twitter. So I feel like at some point they're going to know. But I mean, now that I think about it, I guess they, did everything, you know what I'm saying? But so there's not really much else that I can really say, to be totally honest. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.